Yo guys, this is Reinhardt, it's your favorite Russian talking, and this is gonna be Grr Mondays about the gearing PvP changes in World of Warcraft. And it's actually gonna be not much of a rant, it's gonna be more about, hey, there's a cool stuff going on, I like what they're thinking, but there will be some rant in terms of, I guess we would say the laziness of the system, because I think that they could have done a little bit more better for the resources they have. So, let's talk about the changes here, and I have a beautiful MMO champion, so let's actually magnify it a little bit here so you guys can see too. So let's start from the first one. There won't be any resilience, PvP power, dual item levels, or specifically stats made for PvP. This out of context look horrible, because if we look at this history, the best seasons had the best PvP stats only, but this one doesn't, and the Worlds of Draenor didn't, so that kind of screwed up a little bit. But this is actually a needed sentence, it's not bad in a huge context. So a lot of people get freaked out over the sentence because they don't see anything else too. The team doesn't want people to feel they must have PvP gear to participate in PvP. Does not make sense, okay? There's no such thing as I don't have to go to hospital to get a surgery. I don't have to have a car to drive on the highway. I don't have to have an airplane to fly. It's kind of a PvP gear and participating in PvP are kind of went hand with hand together, and I kind of get that what they didn't do here. But the third sentence, when you enter Battleground or Arena, the game will set your stats from your specs, not your gear. This means all your stats will come from a template specific to your spec. If the spec isn't doing well in PvP, their spec template will be tuned individually. Beautiful idea. Awesome. Plus. Big plus. This is great because essentially what it gives them is another knob outside the PvE to tune in for PvP. It's a great idea, great concept. Essentially, when they're saying there's not going to be a PvP power, resilience, and PvP stats, or the gear made specifically for PvP, well, people kind of like, well, what happens is what they did is every single stat that you enter in PvP will actually be made for PvP. Your strengths and your decay, the intelligence on a mage, when you enter the arenas or battlegrounds, they are going to be essentially your PvP's only stats, because they can only be affected in PvP outside the player versus environment. So with that said, is they basically increased their ability to they basically increased the amount of PvP stats the character have from 1 or 2 that they run before to like 8 or 7 what they have now. Everything will be determined in that stuff. For example, if the classes that are very heavily reliant on a multi-strike in player versus environment, like Ally Shamans and Holy Decays, a couple other classes, well, you know what happens? When they enter the PvP, it's actually going to be a completely different scenario and a different story, because in my multi-strike could be in PvE stacking could be 40%, and it could be my best stat possible, but because multi-strike behaves differently in PvP, I can only have 5% multi-strike chance, but all those stats will go into the actual mastery or something like that. So that's a great idea, that's a great change. I don't think that they should be eliminating PvP power, PvP gear in general. Quite frankly, I think what I would have done, to be honest, I would have gave every person who hit level 100 a free PvP gear with a predetermined stats as you enter PvP, and then you upgrade, scale up that gear as you earn more honor, as you earn more conquest, as you earn more points, and make it that way. I think that would be a kind of a cool change, because that will keep the MMO feel of progression going, instead of, hey, here's your PvP stats predetermined, chop chop buddy, go. Now, I mean, essentially the idea of them is like, well, you don't have to have a PvP gear to PvP. Like, well, do you have to have a PvE gear for PvP? Yeah. Well, why not the opposite? Like, I guess it kind of comes on a way of like second-class citizen type of thing. So, well, I think they're doing a great change. I think they're doing it a bit of a lazy aspect of it. Like literally, what you can do is there's a PvP vendor that gives you a free, absolutely free starting PvP gear. and you have to wear that freaking gear, and then every other gear will be disabled as you enter PvP and PvE. As you enter PvP instances. And then you kind of progress as you progress with the character. You progress with that gear. You get this awesome, like, your gear in the beginning looks shitty, but then as you progress, the gear gets better looking and everything else. So I would like to see that personally. I want to know your opinions in the down below. But them choosing the stats to cover like that balancing up, beautiful idea, great. PvP talents plus the spec stat templates will allow the team to tune the balance in arenas and battlegrounds much better than they ever been able to do before. Absolutely 100% fucking percent true. Except for one thing. They cannot play favorites in that aspect. If they would say, okay, well, the Frost Mages have to be number 1 because of a Frost Mages, that's bullshit. And we've seen that favoritism in the specs happen over and over and over again. Name me one season where Frost Mage wasn't one of the most viable specs in the game. Hence, kind of a point. I mean, Frost Mage reliant on a multi-strike just as much as Unholy Decay, but Unholy Decay lost the Necrotics, and the Frost Mage got Ice Nova that actually helps them with that saying, hey, listen, like, your damage outside your Ice Nova sucks because of the multi-strike holding you back, but unlike Unholy Decay that lost Necrotic, we gave you Ice Nova. So with that said, like, as long as they don't play favorites, as long as they actually balance the gearing and everything properly, and the talent system will actually kind of equalize the utility levels and the damage levels of all the classes. Now, they don't have to be equally. I'm okay with the Decay having one of the least utilities possible in the game while producing the most amount of damage, or the Mage having the most the Mage have the most utilities in the game, but doing the least amount of damage possible. Like, that's, as long as they actually utilize that, then we'll be all Gucci. Now, PvP right now uses gear as a progression system. Well, it's MMO, obviously. Once players get full set of gear, many of them are done. Yep. PvP talents try to make the place of the progression that came from gear. That makes sense. Trinkets and set bonuses and enchants will not be active in PvP. That's the second best line I ever heard. PvP, the trinkets in general are very, very mongoloid. And the idea is, if the trinket is very, very strong, then when the two DPS proccing their trinkets and they're trying to CC healer at the same time, guess what? Healer has to kind of match their healing of 2 DPS when they're proccing trinkets. What happens when those proc trinkets are on cooldowns? Guess what? The healing still is going to be very, very high because it's supposed to be high to match the levels of the burst made by other classes. Or in Cataclysm, what happened is that the healing was actually kind of much on a lower end compared to the burst trinket PvP procs, and what happened is people were just dying alive. The targets with the least amount of defensives usually died very, very fast. Good examples like Warriors and Decays didn't have a really good defensives in Cataclysm, and Rogues were just eating them up easily, and Hunters too. So with that said, I like this. I like that they took off the trinkets, they took off the set bonuses, they took off enchants, all those RNG things that makes PvP kind of miserable, and they took them out and then make the game more about the sustained damage. It even says here, right now players stack enchants, set bonuses and trinkets, lining them up to do a lot of damage. Outside of them, they don't say it, but players play like pussies. They play defensively, so they wait for the cooldowns to come back up and then go at it again. But instead what they said is, outside of when all of those are up, players don't feel like they're doing much damage. They should help to make sustained damage bigger part of PvP. Yeah, great. Once players reach the max PvP level, they can reset it to gain prestige level, and gives the access to a different cosmetic rewards. Okay, that progression system I like, except for it kind of fucks up my talents. When it fucks up my talents, I can't participate in arena. So it kind of put some more emphasis on battlegrounds or skirmishes, but playing high rated arenas with not having all your talents unlocked, that's like the worst thing you can do to yourself. So this is roughly about, like, I don't kind of like that a lot. because it's penalizing rated PvP. I wish instead of that they could have attached that to the actual gearing system. Like legitimately, like you level your talents up, but guess what? You actually accumulate honor points, and your honor points can enhance your gear and looks and everything else. But make it so it doesn't take only 4,000 honor points, or I mean 2,200 honor points to get your chest. Make it so it takes like 22,000. So it's a very, very slow kind of a grindy process that you go through, and you kind of like develop your character. I would like to see that more, to be honest. Instead of just, hey, there's the talents, reset the talents, go back at it again, reset the talents again, and so on and so forth. Conversely speaking, the best looking shit is actually coming from those talents, from last prestige level, like corrupted weapons that I really like to see. Well, so when a player reaches PP level 10, they have unlocked an option in every row. Okay, that makes sense. The CC break trinket has become very important in PvP, so adding it to the PvP talent will offset the loss of the trinkets. Obviously, there will be some options in a row like reducing the CC times by 20%, which is also good. In my opinion, that's good, but the human ratio, and they are addressing it right now. The team hasn't exactly decided what they want to do with the human ratio. They could leave it alone and offer the different talent in a row for the humans. The ratio plus the new option could be too good. Absolutely could be too good. No doubt about that. Alright? Just the fact that the human ratio could be 20% CC reduction to some classes. That's humongous. That's a lot. Like, it is. So human ratio actually has to be taken out. Believe it or not, I love the humans. I play human race in every single MMO. A lot of people think it's boring, but I love humans. I'm a human. I like playing human. But even then I say, hey, remove those, remove human ratio, or give a human ratio something else. Also, by them actually coming up with a predetermined stats and everything else, guess what? That could make the ratios extremely important, to the point where racial will definitely, like, that will be your customizing option, is to have a better racial than somebody else for your class. And there will be, based on the theory crafting and everything else. So what they could be setting up here is, again, hey guys, you had fun, awesome, the human racial is nerfed, could be too good. Hey everybody, let's get back to Horde. Let's give Horde one of the most best ratios in the game possible, and have the players transfer to the Horde, so that's giving us another $25. And obviously the $25, when 1 million of PvPers transfer, that's a fuck tons of money, and that's a very shitty thing to do. So there could be hittingly setting up to the point where, hey, the ratio, like, I would love them to take out any ratios from PvP in general, completely take them out, because they cannot balance it out, and it's very hard to balance, and I agree with that. But making the ratios still go off like they are right now, and at the same time, I mean, this don't get me started. Like, if we have to buy the expansion for $50 and then transfer to the fucking Horde to be the most competitive, boy, I'm not looking forward to that. Are you? So as you get better gear, your stats are increased by a smaller amount. For example, 5 item levels give you 1% stat increase. This way, gear still will increase your power, but it won't give you a huge advantage. Okay, that kind of makes sense. There are plans for players to be able to get a great gear from PvP, but not as easy as it is today. It may be easier for high-rated players to get the better gear than more casual players. You won't have to rate the best. You don't have to rate to get the best gear for PvP. Okay, so that's kind of not a bad thing. So obviously, the biggest PvE player who enters the arena will, with the all mystic gear possible, will have a stat advantage, unless it's a very, very high-rated person in PvP as well. So it's kind of a rewards people for like having a decent progression system. Either you progress highly in PvP or highly in PvE, but as long as you're in that top 5, 2%, 1%, you'll get a good gear, which I kind of like, to be honest. The only thing I'd kind of cautious about this and don't really like all that much is that if there's a 40 item levels difference, right, they said 7%, okay, so it's 35 item level difference, right? 7% stat increase, it's fucking a lot. Look at me, my friends. It is a lot. 7%, it's, you just calculated, just pure raw calculations to be made, it's about 10 to 11% increase in effectiveness. Like literally, you'll have a 10% advantage over the other person by having 7% higher stats. The way it works is there's lots of mathematics involved in it, but to make a story shorter, when you have 7% more HP and you do 7% more damage, there's a HP and there's a damage that you have over the other person. If you only have 7% more damage than this guy, then you're 7% more effective. If you only have 7% more HP over this guy, you are 7% more effective when you clash together. But when you have HP and damage, 7% and 7% at the same time, those two stats cohesively give you a severe advantage. Now, one person in arena, 10% increase, not much. 3 people, now that's a different story. Now, what happens when the 3 fully mystic geared people enter an 1800 arena? They'll have a 30% advantage over the regular people. Advantage is advantage. We don't want to see it in PvP, we kind of want to see it at an equal level. Therefore, I kind of like having a nice, good, laid-back progression system where you start off with the basic PvP gear possible, okay? It doesn't even have to be in your inventory. It could be just a stuff that you kind of like dress up your character to. And you start with that baseline PvP gear. It could be white for all you care, okay? For all I care. Just white PvP gear. And then as you develop it into green, blue, purple, and even legendary, kind of orangey type of thing, and then you start looking good and good and good and good. And let's say to blue, if you're under, let's say 1900 rated, your cap is blue gear. After 1900, your cap is purple gear. After 2200, your cap is orange gear. So make it that way. Make it and you have to wear that gear to participate in PvP. You just have to do it. And they can disable the trinkets and everything else. I would like that progression system where you have a great looking PvP gear, and by all means, the amount of money Blizzard makes in 1 month is enough to release an MMO, to make a new MMO from scratch. Rift, budget, Rift, it took $60 million to make a Rift game. Okay. WoW, on their worst months, makes 75 million, at the very least. More close like to 90 millions with all the tokens, with all the fucking horses that they're selling, all the other bullshit. Minimum 75 million. Literally, WoW has enough revenue coming in every single month to make a new Rift MMO. It's absurd, okay? So telling me that, hey, like, this is the best we can come up with is not true. They could have come up with something better, and this is part of this video that makes it a rant, essentially, because I wanna see a better looking PvP gear, period. Because the PvP gear since Wrath of the Lich King looks absolutely like crap. Wrathful gear looked freaking amazing, and obviously for some classes in some seasons PvP gear still have a decent looking chance, but please don't tell me with a straight face that every single season the gear that they give us we won't actually wear it, because we don't, and it looks terrible. And I think the company can do better. If we're looking at their aesthetics with the artifacts, they look fucking amazing. Obviously we want to see some of that, but overall this was a very great change that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to actually playing World of Warcraft Legion for once in my lifetime. Oh my god, that's awesome. And while I'm not subscribed to Worlds of Draenor because I don't find the game fun at all, I'm looking forward to playing WoW when the Legion comes out. Hopefully I don't have to transfer my characters and spend more fucking money, because I don't look forward to that because of the ratios. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and до свидания.